Interview 1. This is my father, Joseph Kudzinskis' interview about his management experience. Daddy, I'd like to introduce you to start off. How did you start off in management?
Well, my career began first as a worker. Back in 1970, I was a regular worker. I worked on the workforce for 12 years. And after 12 years, I graduated and became a unit manager at a line company and at a pie baking company in Worcester, Massachusetts. I did that job for 2.5 years.
What is the name of that company?
The name of the company was Table Talk Pie. I moved on from there up the ladder to a general manager's position with the company, where I controlled almost 35 to 40 people, depending upon what time of year it was.
How many years was that? From what
Two
time?
and a half years after I moved up the ladder. When Table Talk closed, I ended up moving over to GSA, Gallagher Service Associates, which is a subsidiary of Shell Oil Company.
What year was that?
In 1984, I went to work for Shell Oil, basically. They sent me to management school in Chicago, Illinois, and I learned their ins and outs, basically, of management. When I started managing for them, a gentleman by the name of Paul Gallagher, he was the owner of GSA, he decided to purchase 4 other stations. And he put me in charge of those 4 stations. So basically I became the GM of GSA.
In that area?
In the Worcester area, Worcester, Massachusetts area. Took care of Worcester, Westboro, Marlboro, Holden, Paxton, all that area. What we were able to accomplish was really astronomical. In Westboro, Mass, which was our main office, this is where I was located and out of, we created the largest convenience store operation in central Massachusetts. It had a convenience store, a car wash, a deli, a bakery, a car rental agency, plus we also rented videos. We did a little bit of everything, and it was a huge operation. It had 18 people, and this was like 12 more than what you would need for a regular service station. We also did car detailing. From that operation, I was there for about 2.5, almost 3 years as a general manager. From there, I ended up leaving and buying a restaurant in Winter Garden, Florida. I ran and owned that restaurant for about 2.5 years.
And where was that located?
In Winter Garden. It was located in Winter Garden. And through that, I learned how to be an actual owner. The difference between being a regular worker, manager, general manager, and owner is really something special. You learn all facets. It's like getting your hands dirty and knowing all the ins and outs of different positions. I am proud of the fact that while I was a GM at GSA, only 3 people I've had to get rid of or fire for lack of enthusiasm or for theft. Everyone else was wonderful. They worked for me, and I took care of them. We instituted a bonus program. We instituted pay raises, and this is a non-union operation. A lot of people would say it's not worth, putting that much out there for a small operation, but the more you put out there, the more you get back. We got numerous awards from the town of Westboro. We, in fact, got a higher rating at our bakery and deli operation than most of the restaurants did in that area from the Board of Health. We put an A++ rating, which was unbelievable for a gas station. And we are really proud of that. We always pull 100% from our employees, and I think a lot of it had to do with their dedication to us because we were dedicated to them. I believe management has the opportunity to communicate better with people when the people trust the management. And by doing that, it gives you the right to understand what they're going through. I knew people's families, I knew their kids, I knew their wives, I knew their husbands. And it was a very, very fine operation, and it made me feel like I was part of a big family.
And keep in mind, this is before all the new definitions in the textbook when I took these classes, so this is way before that. And my dad learned all this from personal experience. But what would be your biggest takeaway from management for today's generation?
What would be my biggest what?
Takeaway.
I feel that the generation today moves too fast. It's not setting back and getting to know their employees. They need to be part of the employee package in order to understand what the employee is going through. You can't just walk into a company and take it over and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, without getting the input from the company's employees to begin with.
So how would you implement the type of changes going on now? Would you have to implement some of this? Obviously, yes, but how?
There are companies out there today that work on this status, where one good company for that does something like that is Publix, supermarkets. They promote from within. They work as a family. I was very impressed with what I've read on some of their documentation that they gave their management trainees and their employee packages. They're really good to the employees. It shows that they care about who works for them. If you keep an employee for more than a year, you've got to show that employee that he's worth something to you more than just a paycheck. He has to be part of your family circle.
Or it won't stay in the city or the town consciousness. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. You don't want the employee to leave because he's dissatisfied with what's going on with your company. But if the employee leaves for a better process, then you can be proud that you're the one that helped create that process.
Okay. Any closing thoughts?
In my basic opinion, the course that Angelina is taking right now is very similar to the one that I was offered at Shell Oil in Chicago. It was a course that started at 8 o'clock in the morning. We went from 8 until 3 in the afternoon, and it was constant reading, studying. They were giving documentaries, they showed movies, they showed everything about what a boss, a supervisor should be. You know, and it did not tell you to crack a whip. The first thing they said was, get to know your people. You know your people, you know what they think before they think. That is what's important, to know how to act when something goes wrong, to know what to act when it goes wrong, because something will go wrong.
Sometimes you have to improvise, but stay within the rules.
That's right. There are no rules in business. You make your own rules.
There are definitions, but you can set your own standards.
That's correct. If you follow the book, you're going to have a problem. You follow a book, they're going to tell you that you're being too, excuse my French, hard ass. And that's wrong, because people dislike you then. And if they dislike you, they're not going to work for you.
Okay, what about regular rules that you have to follow, like government?
There are certain things you have to. I mean, you can't be discriminatory. You have to give, you got to treat a female employee the same as the male employee. You can't be, give somebody priority and put somebody else in the back burner. All people have different abilities, and each ability adds to the benefit of your corporation or your company. What one person lacks, the other person possesses. If you can work hand in hand with somebody, you get somebody like that. You got to tell the left hand what the right hand is doing. And if the person on the right side is doing this, the person on the left side is going to be doing that. So and when they come together, they form a whole. And when that happens, the job is complete. That's about basically all I can say on this subject, except that there is a problem in today's management field where people have no regard for the lower guy, the guy that's in the bottom. They got to remember the manager that gets elected manager or hired as a manager has to remember that he's a manager because of what happened below him.
Yeah, he came from somewhere too, so.
That's right.
Or she, or they.
He or she or they. Management teams are always hard to function without proper employees behind them. If that doesn't happen, then a manager's goose is cooked.
Thank you very much. As a manager and as my father, it was a pleasure to interview you.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.